What are the keys to beating Vanderbilt? And is Vanderbilt the toughest game left on the schedule? We break all of it down next on Locked On Gamecocks. Starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler. Welcome back. We are back home in Lexington, South Carolina, as you can tell, because the internet is horrible and always will be, apparently, because Spectrum is the worst. That being said, shout out to you guys. Shout out to our everydayers. And thank you for making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Remember, we are a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at, that is Game Time app. You guys know I love talking about me some Game Time app. Today's episode is brought to you by them. Remember to download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now, let's get into today's episode. Now, there's a big game this weekend there's three big games in the SEC this weekend. And South Carolina Vandy might be the biggest one. Now, neither team is ranked, and you do have Georgia Ole Miss, and you have Bama LSU. LSU Bama, that was the game. That was the game. Listen, we have Florida, Tennessee in the 90s, Bama LSU in the 2010s. That was the game that everyone tuned in for. It was the one night game a year from CBS. It was a huge, huge game with massive implications. That's not to say that those games don't have massive implications right now, because all four of those teams still have their college football playoff hopes in front of them and all of their season goals in front of them as well. Now, the Bama LSU game is a de facto play-in game or a playoff game, because whoever loses that game is out of the college football playoff, almost certainly. But when I say that there's so much on the line and there's so much riding in that game, for the first time since I can remember, maybe you talk about the 2013 game, but for the first time in a very long time, South Carolina and Vanderbilt matters a ton. And it matters from a bowl standpoint. And it matters also not just because, hey, listen, here's a series that has not mattered this much, right? But it definitely matters this time around. I look at this game and you think, man, like there's so much from a bowl standpoint, from a postseason standpoint, on building a program standpoint. Listen, Vandy getting to 6 wins, they've been playing with house money maybe ever since that game against Alabama. But South Carolina, you just had this big win against A&M. You cannot afford a letdown spot to lowly Vanderbilt. And I know that sounds bad. I'm not trying to disrespect Vanderbilt, but that is the perception of this game. Whether it's right, wrong, or somewhere in the middle. That is the perception of this game. Vanderbilt is not a team that should be on the field in South Carolina, especially after what we saw last week. From a program standpoint, you want to pride yourself on saying, you know what, we're better than Vanderbilt. We have always been better than Vanderbilt. We won 15 straight games against Vanderbilt. Why the hell would we start losing now? Again, I look at the game in 2013. That is a 35-25 win for South Carolina. The game for that is 17-13, 20. Now, those are all years that I know South Carolina was in the top, 10 in the country, basically. They ended those seasons like near the top 10, top 5. Vanderbilt in 2013 was a good team. Make no mistake about it. But outside of that, you haven't seen this game featuring the two teams that have this much going for it, especially this late in the season. Now, the weird part about this is this. South Carolina, in the beginning of the season, we talked about, all right, what games are wins? What games are definite wins? And you look at Wofford, you look at Old Dominion, you look at Akron, and then you look at Vandy, and you say, listen, those are bona fide wins. Those are bona fide wins. We're not worried about those. Well, I told y'all for a while now, Mizzou, A&M, Ole Miss, LSU are going to be tough. Mizzou's going to be the easiest one out of all those, especially if Brady Cook doesn't start. But Vandy, you could make the case, is going to be the most difficult team you play for the rest of the year. And there's a lot of reasons why, guys. There's a lot of reasons why. One of the main reasons overall as to why they're one of the most difficult games is man, again, you can't look at last week and you could not have drawn it up any better for South Carolina. You could not have. You beat A&M like a drum. You beat A&M like a drum, and then you moved ahead of them, right? Like you were able to play A&M, blow a lead, go down 20-17, and then the kryptonite for this team was, oh well, they keep falling apart late. They haven't been able to come out and do this and that, like and put teams away. They did all that. Scored the last 27 points unanswered against A&M. Beat the brakes off of them in the second half. I've said it all year, and you guys are probably tired of hearing me saying it, but they finally did it. You put your foot on someone's throat and you press down, not let up. So now you look at this game against Vanderbilt, and you're trying to think, why is it so difficult? Why should we be worried? Outside of the fact they're 6, outside of the fact they beat Alabama, they just beat Auburn again. Diego Pavia has been a wonder this season. Carolina team, you're like, all right, well, what do they do best? They play suffocating defense. And they take the football away. They make you play left-handed. They are really opportunistic in the back end of that defense, and they also get to the quarterback on the front end. You look at Vandy, fewest turnovers in the entire SEC. So I urge you, when you're looking at this game, do not go into it with this mindset of, oh, Vandy's Vandy. Because while that may be true on what our expectations are for South Carolina, it's not necessarily true on who they are and who they've been this season. We got a lot more to come. I'm going to change shirts. I just realized I'm wearing a shirt you guys hate and a hat you guys hate. So we're going to make sure we get rid of that to appease you guys, the listeners, because I love you guys and you guys mean the world. So there's that. Before we do, I want to talk to you about our friends at Hims. Sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to the doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Now, all you need to do, Hims is changing men's health care by providing you access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generic for up to 95% cheaper. Just enter on their sites, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by the verified or safety by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for more details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right. Let's get into the second of the show. Before we do, I do want to talk a little bit of our friends at FanDuel. And listen, you guys have heard me talk about our friends at FanDuel before. They do a fantastic job making sure that you can make every moment more and you never waste a hunch. Now, get ready to tackle the NFL action like never before with our friends at FanDuel. Remember, it's America's #1 sportsbook, and it's America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. Right now at FanDuel, if you go there today and you place a $5 bet, this is for new users. If you make a $5 bet and you win, you will get $150 in bonus bets just for winning that bet. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and everything else all in one place. So if you're like me and you want to go into the situation knowing the most possible info as much as possible, you go to the FanDuel Sportsbook app and it gives you everything you need right in one place. So you get a hunch in the middle of the game. You want to check out the latest stats, you view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of NFL. We do have one special friend. Should we meet the special friend? Come here. Listen, we're back home in Columbia. The internet sucks. You know it doesn't, though? This is right here. Pepper's fired up. Pepper, say hello. Pepper's fired up for the game. Pepper hates Vanderbilt. Every time she goes to Nashville, she's stuck in line on all the bachelorette parties, and she can't. Listen, we're not going to get into the breakdown of the ins and outs of the game yet. We're going to tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a better solution to the internet problems. Listen, I apologize. There's a reason I was gone for 3 months. I don't really know what to do. Spectrum still sucks. But here's the thing. I will continue to bring you guys Gamecock stuff every single day. You know that very much. Now, going into this game, I've said this before. Now, the keys to it we'll get into a little bit later in the week or tomorrow and Friday. I'd say right off the bat, here's one thing I can tell you about Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia is the real deal. They are the real deal. Let's get into some of their games this year, because here's the thing that people seem to confuse with Vandy, and Vegas is finally catching up to it. Some other fans are finally catching up to it. I don't think you're going to have South Carolina going into this game thinking this is easy, it's Vanderbilt, blah, blah, blah. Because they by now it's the second week in November, right? No, first week. Well, technically second week coming up. Second week in November, you know what they are, and what they are is a damn good football team. I said this over and over and over again when I was on Crimson Cover and with ESPN Baton Rouge, talking about the Vanderbilt-Alabama game earlier this year. That was not a fluke. That was not a kick six thing. That was not a bunch of crazy things happened or Bama had a bunch of turnovers. They had one costly turnover, but Vanderbilt had a game plan, and they went in and executed the game plan. Like, again, listen, if you want to say Auburn's not a good football team, I'd agree with you. But they went into Jordan-Hare as a 7-point underdog. They won by double digits. They had 100 yards less than Auburn did, and they still won the game. They were having like 230 yards of offense. They're very opportunistic. They make you play it's almost like watching Virginia basketball. That's a good way to put it. Virginia basketball is a team with, when they had whatever his name is, Tony Bennett, for a very long time. Like, it's this slow down, four corners offense, snail's pace that they run. Their MO is you can't score on us if you're not on the field. And that's a pretty brilliant MO, guys. That's a pretty brilliant MO. And it worked to a T with Alabama. We're on the field for 42 minutes. Bama had the ball for 18, right? Like, they bullied them and bodied them. Now, here's the thing. That Alabama team, we talk about Alabama and how great they are and all that kind of stuff all the time. The South Carolina defense is a better defense than Alabama's. It's really not that close. They're better off the edge. They're better against the run. They're better in the back end. More than anything, they have way more depth, and they have way more leadership there. Bama's very thin, especially in the back end, and has a ton of health issues there right now. South doesn't have that. Now, the thinnest area they have is that linebacker. What you are going to have to do if you're Clayton Wright in going into this game, you got to figure out a way to keep Vandy from seizing opportunities in dumb situations. What I mean by dumb situations, I mean like when South Carolina does something like we'll go back to the Bama game. Is looking at this and people are like, well, it's on the road. It's in Nashville. Like, listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned about that glorified construction zone that they play football for Vanderbilt. What I'm saying is, one of the things that this team for South Carolina has done very well this year is go on the road and thrive in heated and hated environments. Between the two atmospheres, yeah, obviously Clemson's a much more difficult road environment. They've lost like 2 games there or 3 games there in the last 50, 60 games. It's a different animal because you expect from Clemson, you expect the fans to be up and angry and loud and all that kind of stuff. Vanderbilt is much more of a lull you to sleep. We're not that excited. It's not going to be sold out. If it is, it's going to be a lot of your home crowd. It is a very, very easy way to go into a road game, just kind of like hard to get emotionally. You already have to battle that because of the emotional win you had a week ago against. And have to figure out a way to go in and be as motivated as possible and go from there. Listen, here's the deal, guys. We're going to put this show up, and that's all we're going to do for right now. I'm going to come back tomorrow and do 2 more, figure out a way to make this better. I'm sorry for the internet issues. We thought this was fixed. It is clearly not. Being in South Carolina, I don't know what to do. I will figure it out. But as of now, we're going to have this video go up. We'll do more of a breakdown tomorrow. If I have to do it with my phone, go live to do it, give a blank, we'll just do that. Okay. So bear with me. I apologize for the inconvenience, but we'll be back tomorrow. Hope all of you have a fantastic rest of your afternoon and a fantastic rest of your night. Love y'all. Go Cox. We'll talk to y'all then.